Hi, so this is John Micheal Morgan, who is the author of the best-selling book, Brand Against the Machine, which I'm going to come back to later. He is a motivational and mindset speaker, a mindset mentor and coach, the founder of the Achiever Tribe, a very proud American and proud spiritual being. John is married to Brooke, who is his high school sweetheart, and they've been married for 19 years and together for 24 years and have 2 children. For over a decade, John has been coaching entrepreneurs and leaders on the subject of personal development and marketing and branding. He has worked with some of the world's most successful brands, Fortune 500 companies, as well as small business owners earning 6 and 7 figures. Hey, John.
Hey, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. We were just having a discussion off the thingy that I'm really hot off these cameras that are coming down on us.
It's funny because it's freezing right now where I am, and I still knew to take the layers off because the lights get hot. Once you get in it, you're going.
I am literally, the whole of me, it feels like I'm going to explode. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever done this, and I'm looking at my face in there, and it's red. I am nervous. I'm just going to say I'm a little nervous, and which you replied.
Don't worry about it. Who cares? We'll do it over if it doesn't work.
That's exactly right. Thanks, mate. I appreciate you doing this for me. Right, because I know you a little bit more, not loads. I want you to tell everyone how we met.
So you and I met a really interesting way through, I guess you call it a mastermind group, where once a week we get on the phone or Zoom, not the phone, with a bunch of other gentlemen who are also awesome. And we talk life and success and business and what's going on in our head and managing all of that.
And what like there's a key part of that drew me to you, John, was that I do this in the UK at 8 a.m. and have an issue about getting up early. What time do you do it?
So for me, the calls start at 2 a.m. So I have to, I sleep for a little bit. I get up at 1 a.m. I do the call for a couple hours. And then sometimes I try to sleep again a little bit before my day starts. Other times I just stay up and I'm like, forget it. Let's go.
Awesome. Oh, that when I had this issue about time, and when you said that, I know I've said this to you before. When you said that, it made me have a strong energy toward it. Anyone who does something like that, I think is absolutely immense.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I think for me, part of it was wanting a group like that, wanting to meet new people and have great conversations and, see where that goes. But then the other part was I'm just someone that, like, if I say I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to give it enough of a try, enough of effort to actually gauge the result. I think a lot of people, they quit something too early or they're just half committed. And I would rather either be all in or all out because I don't really have time in my life to do the halfway thing like a lot of people do.
If you haven't seen my questions, but you just answered one of the questions that I've got coming up.
No, I've not seen your questions. What question did I answer?
When I come to it, I'll tell you. But just gave me an answer to one of the questions. Oh my God! Right, I thought I'd get a quick little fire round off first to get a bit of an idea of who you are. Yeah.
So all right, let's do it.
So it's the cat or dog.
Dog.
Big party or small gathering.
Can I do both?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It depends on who the people are.
No, you can't. You've got to pick one.
I've got to pick one. Then I'm going to say small gathering if I'm the host and I get to choose who the people are. Otherwise, big gathering so I can get away from people if I need to.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Blue or red?
Blue.
Save or spend?
Spend.
Honesty or other people's feelings?
Honesty. That is a good one. That is a good one. I wish I cared more about other people's feelings because the honesty has got me in trouble, but I got to go with the honesty.
That's it. Interesting. I thought you'd go the other one. Okay. Oceans or mountains?
Mountains.
Working alone or working in a team?
Working alone.
What is your favorite word?
Freedom.
Freedom. He's like the William. Do you know of the William Morris? Have you ever seen Braveheart?
If I've seen Braveheart,
I
you kidding me?
do.
Like, I'm alive, aren't I? Of course I've seen Braveheart.
What smell do you love?
Okay, we're gonna get weird now. So I was a very wild child, and I grew up doing a lot of different martial arts, and I've broken my nose so many times I can't smell anything.
Wow, were you a black belt?
In karate and taekwondo.
Right, amazing. My
Yeah.
friend was the British UK karate champ.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Interesting story though. He would have never have been it. He would have lost, but the guy in the semis lost it, but he still got the title.
Oh, nice. Nice. There you go. Hey, whatever works. Whatever works. No, so I can barely smell anything. So it any smell, I guess. It doesn't matter.
Well, you wouldn't have known if you got COVID then, would you, if you haven't got it anyway?
No, I wouldn't have had any idea.
Right, last one of these. What is your favorite curse word?
Oh gosh, there's so many great ones. I like how this is the question that stumps me. You know what? I'm gonna say shit. Just classic, just classic, easy, applies to a lot of situations.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, let's be honest. They're all good.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I could have went with any, but
the British, I don't know whether it's a British thing or we use the C word a lot. You know, the C bomb. We use it a lot. And either it's half and half. Half of people are really offended by it, like hugely offended by that word. The other half use it in nearly every sentence. It's one of them.
And here, that's like a big no-no. You can't. Yeah. I think everybody here is offended by that. But everybody in America right now is offended by everything. So you really can't. You can't say anything without somebody being offended or triggered in some way.
Okay. So we get a little bit of depth about you then. So a bit more specific now with what you're doing. Because, I found you've got something about you that, we've probably been doing the Zooms about 8 weeks. Have we? 9 weeks? Is it about 9 weeks?
It may be longer. I mean, yeah, probably 9 weeks, let's say.
So a brief thing, we do these Zooms and we're taken by two lads in Bali and we go through different things and they're brilliant and we have a really great time. Yours was by far the greatest session that we did. I absolutely loved it. Like,
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I really feel that it did something that not many people can do. And it led me to my first question. When did you first started to notice that you had skills that inspired people? And when did you start to realize that you could put belief in other people, which is an amazing skill?
Gosh, that's a fantastic question, man. No one's ever asked me that. So my first thought is, well before I realized, my wife realized. She saw something in me years before I saw it in myself. In fact, when she and I met, we were teenagers. I was going through really dark depression, had no self-esteem, no self-worth. And yet she saw me as like, you're going to go do these big things. And she just was certain about it. Like she just had this intuition, this strong feeling about it. Wow. And I was like, well, that sounds amazing, but I don't see it. And it took some years to see it. I would say where it ended up happening, Christian, is that I used to own a real estate company. And I noticed that every time I was in the room with other leaders, I walked out as the leader of them. And then when I stepped into consulting and working with other businesses, it was a lot of the same thing. It was a lot of people naturally saying, what does this guy think? And just wanting to sort of follow. And I would say I spent a few years kind of in denial about that gift or that skill set. And so your question was, when did I really realize it? In many ways, I would say I'm still trying to realize it. I'm still trying to come to terms with that so that I can even play bigger than I am now. So I still think that's something that's a struggle for me, which is why I love that question. But really, thankfully, it came from my wife, because had she not sort of encouraged and inspired me, I don't think I would have ever done the internal work to put myself in a position to where I could inspire and help others.
Awesome. She sounds awesome, and she's an attractive woman as well. I'm on your Facebook. I was having a little look before we. Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Well, I put that question because I think to give someone else beliefs a hard thing to do, but somehow, and I have no idea. And as we get to know each other more, I'll find out if you tried, but you put belief in me at some point, and I don't even think you were trying to put it in me, but you gave it me, and that's a gift that I don't know. I've never had it before.
Well, I appreciate that. I think there's two elements to this that end up in those type of situations that really come to the root of who I am or how I'm able to do that. And one is my faith. And because of my faith, it's hard for me to see the world in a negative way or believe that we're going to do anything but win. Right. So there's that sort of eternal optimism that, that I have that's rooted in that. The other part is I have been coaching and helping people for 13 years now. And you get to a point where I'm now seeing in others what they can't see in themselves, right? And you get to this point where you see so many people who don't have it and so many people who are faking it or doing it wrong, that when you see someone who genuinely has something to share, they just don't believe it yet. You can't help but kind of call it out, because I'm a big believer that the world needs more heroes. We need more leaders. We need more, people with a strong mindset. And so when I met you and your enthusiasm and your attitude and your positivity, jumps out of the screen, it's like, here's a guy with gifts that he doesn't even realize he's got. Like, he doesn't even realize. So if I can just help light that in you and kind of ignite that spark, and you can take it and run with it, then in my mind, I'm changing the world. So, it's like, instead of me changing the world because something I'm specifically doing, I'm just going to go find a bunch of people, change them, let them go change the world, because I'm also lazy. So it's a lot easier for me just build an army of you guys and go.
A guy who gets up in the 2 a.m. can never, ever say he's lazy. I am lazy. I'm the ultimate epitome of laziness, right? Awesome. So what hurdles have you personally faced, and how did you overcome them at the beginning? I want you to go back to the beginning when you started this, because I can imagine when you start anything, because I'm starting something new and there's loads of hurdles, some imposed by myself, some just hurdles of life as they go. What did you face?
I think there was a couple of things. The business that I'm in now of coaching and writing books and basically being a teacher, and I travel around the world and speak at events. The good news of all of that is it's all on you. But the bad news is it's all on you. And I saw freedom in that. But also, I came from real estate where the path to success in real estate, it's very clear. It's very like, do this step, now this, now this, now this. There's really no room for creativity. There's just, it's just so proven that you can kind of go through the motions. The business I'm in now, really, the sky's the limit. What you want to do, what you want to try, how you want to set it up, you can creatively explore however you want it to look. That was a challenge, even though that's what drew me to it. It was a challenge because in the beginning, I was looking at, I could do 1,800 different things. Which one do I choose? And you sort of get paralyzed by indecision and just all the different choices. And I see that today, because today, people are saying, well, do I do a podcast? Do I do YouTube? Do I do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like all these things? And the truth is, any of them can work. You can make any of them work to great success. It's choosing what's going to actually work for you and what, speaks to you the most. But again, that overwhelms people, because inevitably we feel like, maybe I should be on Instagram, even if you don't want to, because you know that everybody else is, or whatever, right? Like that's the biggest challenge. And there was probably a year or maybe 2 years of me stalling any momentum that I had created because I was just so hesitant of, well, what should I do next? And what does that look like? And rather than just saying, screw it, let's go. Let me just try stuff. Let me figure out what works and basically just fail faster at those things.
So yeah, failure is an interesting thing, isn't it? That, you know, I've shot some videos, and the whole point of failure is it's a stepping stone to success. And if you don't, but it is hard, and I fail a lot, but sometimes it's hard. Learning to get over failure is an interesting.
It absolutely is, and a single quote changed my entire life when it comes to failure and how I was viewing it and just how I approach it. And it was from Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich and a lot of other great books. But Napoleon Hill said that most people don't understand the difference between temporary defeat and a permanent setback. And it occurred to me that most failure is only failure if I quit. You know, so, I can launch the podcast and maybe nobody does it, or I write the book and nobody reads it. You know, is that permanent or is it temporary? That's my choice. Right. And I think when I looked at it that way, again, going back to freedom, the reason that's my favorite word is it's my biggest motivator. I love the freedom of, I don't have to stop writing books until I decide that I'm done writing them. Like, you know, you can, you know what I mean? Like, who cares about failure? And I'll tell you another thing, Christian, I think we're worried that if we fail, people will laugh at us, people will judge us, people will think less of us. And I've just realized that every single person on this planet is so selfish. They're not keeping a scorecard of John Micheal Morgan's failures. As much as I would like to think everybody cares about me that much, the truth is, no, they care about them.
Yeah, it's interesting that you hit it. That other people have got they're too busy worrying about their own world to be worried about yours. But everyone has that thing, don't they? Think about it.
Absolutely. And people don't know what game you're playing. They don't know what your strategy is. So they don't know how to measure success or failure based on what you're doing. If they don't know your goals, your vision, you know, the bigger picture of what you're doing, then they're going to judge it incorrectly anyways.
It is. It's all the bigger picture, isn't it? Yeah. God, I feel like every time that we chat, I can imagine you like, because I used to play football, you'd be awesome at halftime talk. Maybe if someone should get you in to come in, you just have this thing about you that you want to listen to. I want to like stand up. You know, are you stood up now?
I am standing up. Of course
I want to stand up. I'm thinking, I actually.
Why are you not standing up? You got to have the energy, man. I can't sit still.
No, I'll give you why I'm not standing up. I am too tall to stand up in this room.
That's perfect.
I chose this office in my offices because I could get a bit of privacy. But if I close the door, there's no oxygen because it's underneath the floor. And I mean, it's no oxygen. And and I can't stand up. I'm 6'3" and it's 6 foot.
Yeah, there you go.
So what I was going to touch on before, this was the question that you answered for me, but I'm going to say it again because I wrote it down. My question that you answered earlier was, what was the most common reason for people failing or giving up? That's what you answered at the beginning.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say, you know, to even what I said earlier, to even add to that, I think, you know, the most common reason is they allow it to affect their confidence and their self-esteem. You know, they are saying, oh, I failed, or this isn't working, or it's not happening as quick as I want. And then mentally they start saying, so something must be wrong with me. And in fact, it's like, well, maybe nothing's wrong with you. Maybe you've not given it enough time. Maybe you haven't, tried everything yet. I don't know. It's really interesting. And I think we get into that comparison trap where we say, well, this person over here, that they're having success quicker than me or more success. I don't know why it's not working for me. I'm telling you right now, if you actually could see behind the scenes for most of those people, you would realize they're not as successful as you think they are.
Yeah.
And that's another thing of just the longevity that I've had in my career. I've seen behind the scenes of so many big name people, and realize like, oh wow, you're not actually successful at all. This is a very fragile house that could come down at any point. And I don't say that with disrespect, but rather to encourage everyone else of don't judge it. Don't judge that. It's very much a matter of my enemy in business is not competition. I have no competition. My enemy is in here.
Yeah.
It's self-doubt. It's that little voice that's asking me all these bad questions and that self-talk that throws you off. So every day, what I try to do is get my mind in a place where I'm focused and I can be successful and I've got that self-belief. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in society, and this is anywhere in the world, not just business, but I'm talking like on a school level, even with children, the fact that we don't teach people how to have confidence, how to protect it, how to maintain it, how to strengthen it is an absolute crime. Because if you look at most issues in the world, a lot of those issues are caused because we have too many people on this planet who are insecure.
Yeah. I almost feel that they don't want to do that because if everyone was really confident, they'd be off doing things, and then no one would be doing the mundane jobs and keeping the taxpayers' money going. I think that they want to unify everyone. So they almost don't want everyone to have belief.
Sure. I think there's a large part of that. Absolutely. I mean, I think that happens. That's why we have to be aware of our environment, Christian, because, I've had friends before who didn't actually want to see me succeed because I was out doing things that were outside of their comfort zone. So they were doubting and they were saying, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to try that? And I realized that sometimes, hey, I've got to make some difficult decisions and maybe eliminate some people from my social circles because they're not going to help me reach my goals. And I know that sounds harsh, but I agree. What I landed on was I looked around one time and saw who my friends were, who the people closest to me were. And I thought, are these people worth me not hitting my goals? Because they're absolutely holding me back. Do I care about them so much that I'm willing to live a life full of regret just to please them? Or do I need to do the hard thing of cut them out of my life so that I can actually grow and chase my potential?
Yeah. Negative energy. Yeah. Some people are just trapped with it and it's holding them back, the energy inside them.
Right.
Yeah. It's like what I'm liking about this is because obviously this is another part of my YouTube channel and it's a new thing I'm getting into. And I have like massive, not confidence things, like content, coming up with content. The last video I did was on the mental talk in your mind, listening to that voice. Everything I've done, you've brought up, and it's my last 3 videos and you've brought up. So it's given me a little bit of faith that even John Micheal Morgan agrees. So they must be good.
Well, you're a great example though, Christian. But as we're talking about product of our environment, the reason you stood out to me immediately is, okay, here's a guy that I have never seen in a bad mood. I love that even when you have had hard things come at you, you maintain that positive attitude. And that's important because studies have showed that the number one determining factor on whether or not we overcome a challenge is our attitude. And so when I look at being a product of my environment, I'm real specific on who's allowed into my environment. And when I see someone with your kind of attitude and your enthusiasm about all of these wonderful topics, it's like, okay, then I want that guy in my life because I want 10 more of you. But it's hard to find people with those kind of attitudes, right? Like it's hard to find, but that's the goal. And I think the hard part, like the lesson for people watching this, is that you have to be willing to sometimes walk alone until you find those right people. Because I know I used to have that where I was sitting there and I was saying, well, but if I get rid of these friends, I won't have any. And that depressed me, right? That depressed me greatly. And I had to be patient and I had to be willing to walk alone for a while and trust that I'm going to attract and I'm going to find the right kind of people in my life. And sure enough, that is what continues to happen. But it's by design. And I think that, like you saying, hey, some of the stuff you're talking about is what I've just done these videos on. That's not coincidence. That's by design because that's exactly who you and I want in our life.
I did want an attitude.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. As soon as I saw that, I was like, well, of course, that's you. That makes sense, right? But that's the thing that a lot of people, they don't understand. They're not willing to say, let me tighten up my circle. Same thing online, by the way. A lot of times people, they're picking up their phone, they're logging in, and they're depressed because the people they've allowed in their social media environment aren't great. They're not uplifting. And, like, you've got to understand, you can unfollow them, you can unfriend them, you can block them, you can hide them. Social media is what you make of it. And so it's always fascinating to me, Christian, when I hear people say, oh, I don't want to be on Facebook, it's so negative. My Facebook's not, because I'm only making sure that I'm connected to the right people. Yeah. And so people will say, Instagram, it's too political, or Twitter's this or Twitter's that. It's like, mine's not, because I'm getting rid of that nonsense.
Yeah. Do you know? And this leads to your book, actually. Like, so I'm spiritual, and I don't believe that coincidences are coincidental. I believe that when I start thinking about them and I start writing it down, what I want to achieve, it often comes. So. We get chatting, and then from this, I say, let's connect. You remember we connected that first time, and as we connected, I went on your Facebook, and it was only then I knew that you were an author, because I knew nothing about you other than there's John in this group. We'll connect on Facebook. I'll check him out, and I'm like, oh my God, John's a big hitter. Wow, I'm glad I did, So I straight away asked you if you'd do this, and you said yeah, and I really appreciate it. That's why I thought I'm going to read your book. So I start reading, I audio him. So I'm out doing my walks, audioing on a book. And it's called Brand Against the Machine. And it was interesting enough. When I first saw it, I thought brand. But then as I was walking along, it was like, you wrote that book for me. And I'm walking along, listening to what the brand in that instance was me. And I'm walking along, and what the book does is gives belief. It's constantly reminding you to have belief in yourself and why you go about forgetting it. And I felt that was too quick. It was just, I found it very strange that I was reading your book, listening to it, and it was my time right then to listen to it. Wow.
That's exactly the way it happens, right? I mean, there's been so many, I love reading, but there are so many times that I realize that the best books are the ones that find me, rather than I found them. And it's the same thing with friendships and relationships and clients and all of those things. It very much comes down to when you have clarity on what you want, what you're trying to achieve, and like you said, you're writing that stuff down, and you're thinking through it, and you're praying about it, and you're meditating, and all of those things. It is then it never ceases to amaze me how much then comes into your life, but yet it's also like, it's so by design. And I think that's a huge thing for people to understand, is that they can actually create the life that they're wanting, or the business that they're wanting, or whatever, simply by understanding, like, let me get more specific on what I actually want.
Awesome. I could speak to you forever and ever. I don't know what, when I started, I was really nervous. I don't really get nervous. Well, I do get nervous.
I'm an intimidating dude.
You're the total opposite of intimidating. You could be intimidated if you wanted to, because you're very knowledgeable and you put things across well, but that is not your persona, which I like about you. So thanks for that, because I'm scared of intimidating people. Like, I have a thing of official people, I don't know, it's a childhood thing. I'm scared of them.
Right. Yeah, I do as well.
So, So I could give you a million compliments, but what's the best compliment you've ever got?
I'd like to hear your million. Let's go through that list. I don't know.
Do you want me to tell you what do you want my compliment? I'm happy to give it to you.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting, because I want this. There's a great lesson in what you're doing, and I want everyone in the audience to really take this away. So there's something fascinating that I always think about, and it's weird to talk about, but I'm just going to talk about it.
Good.
The more successful or high profile or whatever someone is, the less encouragement they get. If you think about it, when was the last time that someone told David Beckham he was good at soccer or football, however you guys call it. It's soccer. Anyways, I know it's not. But I'm struggling. Or, told Tiger Woods he was good at golf, or LeBron James was good at basketball. Now, we know that they know it, but what if it's really nice for them to hear it? There was a great book written a few years ago called The 5 Love Languages. And it's basically about there's different ways that we all receive love. And, for some people, it's physical touch. For some, it's quality time. For some, it's receiving gifts. And one of them is words of affirmation. And words of affirmation is one of mine. Yet, because of my career or what success that I have had, there's almost this thing of, well, he knows it. I don't need to tell him, he's good at this. Where the flip side of that is me saying, no, I'd actually like to hear that. That would be good, because we all struggle with self-esteem and those issues. Like I said, confidence is something you always are working on. That's a great point, though. I love that you're someone who you want to give that positivity. You want to give that encouragement to anyone and everyone. And I think that is a really, really cool skill because it's going to open doors. Absolutely.
Do you know why I do it? And I know I've done it to you. I know I will have. I always I think that people don't ever say nice things to people enough in the world. Do you know, just walking my dog, I want to say something nice to someone and make them feel good. Because you walk off and you've given someone, you leave someone with a smile, you make them feel good. And it would, if it was someone famous, I'd say they were good. I want people to feel good about themselves all the time, because we live in a world that's not happening all the time. There's a lot of opposite of that. Like the news, I don't watch the news or read the news. I haven't done it. I used to read the news, and I stopped that about 3 months ago. So I've no idea what's going on in the world. So it's pretty enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, and see, I love that though about you. That's what impresses me about you, because you can be walking the dog and see a stranger and want to be that little piece of light in their day. And what I love about that is you may be the only one in their life that
I do think that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that.
And that's something that, like you said, everyone in the world needs that. So here's a secret. This will help you in relationships, friendships, marketing, sales, anything. The secret is every single person on this planet, this applies to everyone, they all are seeking recognition.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel seen. Everyone wants to feel valuable. Every single person. No one is immune to that, ever.
But they deserve it. And I've never thought of it like you said. Why should everyone assumes that those doing well get it all the time? And probably, I've never ever thought of that. They're probably not getting it at all, because also, if you get a lot of critics. I got trolled 2 days ago. I got trolled for the first time.
That's how you know you're making it.
Yeah. And someone attacked me as a parent. They found a way. Nothing like this is in the comments section on YouTube. I don't know how they asked me questions about parenting. I gave them an honest perspective. I got trolled, absolutely trolled. That's the first time I've had negative stuff in my life, but I've not been trolled.
Right.
Imagine, I love watching when celebrities read out what people have said out of them. I don't know what class, and it's funny when they say it, but some of that stuff is disgustingly horrible,
right?
And no one deserves that. And they'll go, "Oh, they're all right, they're rich." What money stuff makes your mind? You pay for your mind to be all right all the time.
You're exactly right. It's one of those things that so often, like I said, we assume that people at a certain level are now, like, their defense is so strong that nothing phases them, and that's not true. Words can hurt, and you have to view it also in that context of someone who does troll or criticize. I often stop and think, wow, they have so little going on in their life that they have time in their day to criticize me. There's stuff out there that I don't like. I see, blog articles or videos or whatever that I like. Yeah, I don't like that. Or a movie or music, but I don't have time to stop and comment to let them know I don't like what they did.
No.
And I think that's the thing is like when someone criticizes, they have to stop and think, well, wait a minute. What am I doing? This is what I call 1-star thinking. So this will help everyone with confidence, by the way. Anytime you're feeling down or you get that troll comment, go to Amazon, look up the world's most popular books, and notice how many 1-star reviews they have.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. First of all, the Harry Potter books, which everybody knows were great, still have 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
This is what's really fascinating, Christian. The Bible has 1-star reviews. Now think about that. First of all, that's like a first-class ticket to hell. Like you punch a 1-star review on Amazon for the Bible, you're not getting in, right? I'm pretty sure. Second thing is, what is the point of your review? The authors aren't writing a sequel. They're not alive to read that. They're not going to say, we're going to do better next time because this dude over here didn't like it. This 1-star review. It's so often it just shows the mentality of where some people are. Also, as creators, what we have to remember is context. Most people, not all, but most criticism, people are criticizing something that wasn't actually made for them. So they'll read a book and they'll say, this book was too basic, but maybe the book was written for beginners.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have been reading it to begin with, right? Like that's what's so fascinating to me about that mindset of critics. And like I said, what I call this like 1-star thinking, they somehow feel like, they're trying to be heard because it goes back to they're trying to feel significant and they've not created anything themselves. So they'll just criticize someone else's creation to try to feel noticed, to try to be seen.
Well, when I started doing the YouTubing, like I was scared of say that what you've seen of me, I can be me to you. From the first time we met, I could be me, especially in that group. I've never been more me than I am in that group. It is pretty sensational.
Yeah.
And I'm me. And I was scared for people to see my videos. So I didn't put them on any social media. They were just for me and a certain person watching them. First weekend, I had 178 WhatsApp shares. You know what that meant, don't you? The lads in the town I live. And you knew about something really bad that happened to me this year. The WhatsApps was the only time I went to my best mates and I was upset about it. That's it. You know what happened this year?
Yeah.
WhatsApps about watching my video. No one even said anything. That was the bit that got to me. Out of all my year, that was it. The craziest of things that we find,
Absolutely. And that's what we have to remember. Who are we creating it for? I have to remember that every time I create a piece of content, someone may criticize it, but the person that it's going to help, that's my focus.
Yeah.
That's my focus. And I've got to keep them in my mind. And, so same thing for you. It's like with each video you put out, you've got to think of the 10 people who are going to love it versus the one person who's going to say, they'll hate it. Or in the future, the 1,000 people who are going to love it versus the 5 who, might not. And again, it's a matter of just remembering like, who are you creating it for? Like I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but I don't like country music. I don't criticize country music because they're not making it for me, right? Like I'm not a redneck in a cowboy hat and all that. Like,
you don't have a cowboy hat?
No, of course not.
You would make a suit a cowboy hat.
Oh my goodness! Look at this big head. Do you know how much hat they would have to make? Even fit my head.
I've got a pinhead. He looks quite big on there, but I've got my son's head. He's got quite a big head. Makes my head look very, very small. So I'm going to get to the next bit about what the chat. We've touched on loads of stuff. You're great at content. You're just full of things to say. You know that. Like I could literally listen to you all the time, and everything you say, I'm learning from. I rang you to interview you, and I just feel like I'm going to leave here. You're thinking, right? I need to write that down. See what that is. So I know that you've touched on this before with different things about like I see. So I called the channel The Crisis Coach because I was going through a crisis. I don't know why. I've stuck with it now because I'm quite good at handling a crisis, and life's a bit of a crisis, and life's a bit of, I see it as what I'd say my ultimate quote of life is not what happens to you. It's how you deal with what's happening. Because that's your choice. What happens? No choice. If I walk out of here and some maniac comes up to me, does something to me, I ain't got a choice in that bit. I've got the choice comes to me reacting and how I deal with it later on. So I'm interested. What makes you stay positive and happy? One side of it. And when dark moments come, what do you do about it?
Great question. So for me, I think I'm really sensitive to the fact that dark moments will happen. I don't know anybody that's like bulletproof or just immune to it, right?
Yeah,
And I think the more we grow and step outside of our comfort zone, we're opening ourselves up to those kind of moments even more. So the way it's the reason I wake up and do those calls at 2 a.m. because what I'm aware of and how I deal with it is, first of all, make sure I'm not isolating myself from that inner circle and those core people in my life that do make me happy. Like, it's really hard to be in a bad mood after talking to you. Like, cheer me up. Or I may send a text message to some friends or whatever it may be, or I may go hang out with my wife and kids, and we're gonna do something for a while or whatever. Like, here's what's interesting is I think as humans we are very aware of our negative triggers. We know what makes us depressed. We know what makes us sad. We know what hurts us, but we don't have a list of positive triggers. What makes us feel inspired? What makes us feel encouraged? What makes us feel strong and invincible? And for me, I just keep a list of those things. And depending on the day and the mood, I'll go through them. There's some music I can listen to. And you know what? In a few moments, I'm back and I'm ready to take on the world. There are some days that I'm so dark, the music isn't doing anything. And it's like, all right, I need to phone a friend or I need to do something. And I think that's the thing is knowing that, like, making a gratitude journal or meditating or working out or, getting outside. Nature is, one of the great healers.
Video.
There you go. Right. Because that's a big thing, for so many of us now, our lives are in front of a screen. And so how often do we get outdoors and how often, do we enjoy that? And, that's, I found an old book that was written over 100 years ago, and it was written by this doctor, and it's so wide. It has a chapter in it called How to Prevent Suicide. And I was like, wow, that's a heck of a title for a chapter. Yeah. And the whole chapter is basically just telling you to get outdoors, like to go hike and go walk and just like, do and it's really fascinating. But I think that's the thing is, for me, what gets me focused, it's my morning routine. Before I check email, before I check social media, before I do any of that, have I journaled? Have I read? Have I meditated? Have I prayed? Have I exercised? Then I get, my coffee, all that stuff. It's like all that happens before I start the day. And the reason, Christian, is because I want to get my mind right before I start rolling into the rest of the world.
You and I are very similar, like you just right. So I'll send you I did a video on how I told you that I was 97.5% happy and how I worked it out. And in this video, you've just given me every bloody subject. No one's going to need to watch it now. No one's going to want to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But that's also evidence that it works, right? So like for someone watching this, they need to say, okay, hey, cool. If John's talking about it and Christian's talking about it, maybe there's something to it. And here's the thing that I find that a lot of people get tripped up on. You need to follow principles, not tactics. And let me explain the difference. What you and I are talking about here, the principle is having a strong morning routine.
Yeah.
What each of us do in our morning routine, that's the tactics. So I always tell people, follow the principle, but that doesn't mean that your morning routine has to look exactly like mine. I know some people, they don't like meditating. And so I told them, then don't make that part of your morning routine. If it doesn't fill you up and help you, then don't do it. Do the things that do work for you. I'm not someone who's going to spend like 2 hours of my morning routine, running 15 miles or whatever. Okay, but someone else, if that's what works for them, then go do that. But notice that the consistency is that you have a powerful morning routine. I have a powerful morning routine, and most people, sadly, they're on this, and they're checking that now and news and everything before they've even gotten out of bed.
My new routine is no phone morning. I'm not that. So my new habit that I've started that I mentioned is I read a book now. I get up, go downstairs, read a book. I don't let anything cloud my mind anymore. I just want to, because you have to get into that. You have to get into the place where you want to be to get in the day. Because people look at happy people and think, oh, they're so lucky. There's a lot of graft goes into doing it. You know what I mean?
That's the thing I don't think people understand. Like, I don't wake up and like I'm in a good mood and super happy. I'm usually kind of annoyed to be awake, and the dogs are wanting to go outside, and there's a whole thing going on. So what I realized though is that as amazing as these devices are, what's really happening inside is other people's agenda. Email in my inbox are other people's agenda for me. Social media is people sharing what they want me to hear, rather than what do I want to fill my mind with. So again, I know I'm going to consume all of that, but before I do, I want to be purposeful about what I'm putting in my mind, what I'm filling my cup with, so that now if there is something in this that isn't good for me, I'm stronger and don't have to become so susceptible to it. And now I can, navigate that so much better. And I think that just comes back to being really, really intentional with how do you want to show up? Going back to what you're talking about with attitude and compliments and encouragement. I think really my goal every day is I want every single person who comes in contact with me to be glad that they did.
Yes.
I would like it to, in the evening when they're getting ready for bed, I would like them to say, oh, that guy at the restaurant today sure was nice. Or, oh, I had a call with John today and that was really awesome. Like, I don't care what it is. I just want it to be, that thing, because for me, that's legacy, right? Like that's legacy. And I did this exercise, which sounds totally morbid and dark, but last year I wrote my own obituary. Like, this is what I get
that. I know what my funeral is. I know what my tunes are, and I totally. You and I are too alike.
I'm curious to know what your tunes are, because I'm working on mine.
I'll tell you one. It's the obvious one. I'll do it now. Have you heard of a band called the Stone Roses? They were big in the 80s.
Of course I have. Don't think because I'm American that I'm not good music.
I am the resurrection, and everyone is in there, and it comes on. They know that I purposely put that on. Let us see the light, without a doubt, that one, and then some other ones. Yeah, but that one's saying
nice.
That one's got a lot of character.
Nice. I like how you think dumb Americans don't know the Stone Roses.
No, what did I say? No, it's like for instance, when I was going to Australia, I didn't know much of the music of Australian bands, so I had to start Googling them, and I went to see
let's be honest, no disrespect to Australia, but the only good music really comes out of the US or the UK.
Right. Well, I think you're right, but I love music. And what I did when I went there, I found a band called Gang of Youths. Have you ever heard of them?
No, because I'm American.
I ended up I literally put them on. I got into it for 2 weeks. Got into Melbourne that night, met a woman off the plane. She gets us in VIP to Gang of Youths because there's no tickets left. Do you know, like Universal stuff coming that way? You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, my only association to Australian music is Silverchair. So that's my limit.
Is it? I love that one. I just love music. Silverchair. Sorry.
Have you not heard of Silverchair?
Never. No. I've only heard of one. There was Gangs of Youth, which are new, and there's a...
Wait, how did you not... How old are you?
43.
So you grew up during the grunge era. How did you not hear Silverchair?
When I was younger, I was maybe not the guy I was now, and so I forgot a lot of things. But I will now. It's a whole other chapter, but I will now. How much time have you got left, John? Because I know you're busy.
No, I'm good.
Are you good? Oh, good. This is, I just want to say it though. This is awesome, mate. I couldn't have done this starting for a better thing, because I was scared of it. And what you did to me, did you mean to do this actually? So you always said you'd do it. And last night I asked you if you could do it next week. And then, so this is at night, and you say, how about we do it 3:00 tomorrow? Was that intentional, or was it just when you had free?
So, I mean, yes and no, because I would have had this time free next week. Okay. But I didn't want to tell you that because you had talked to me about us doing this. Yeah. And I didn't want you to back out.
No, I would never back out.
I didn't think you would back out.
Put me under pressure. And then, like as an entrepreneur, like this isn't an entrepreneurship yet, but as an entrepreneur, we've got no accountability. And that's one of my weaknesses. I've just actually, someone who'll be watching this video is doing the socials, is my new accountability guy. He's awesome. He's made me accountable so many times. I haven't felt it. Who makes you accountable? Who are you accountable to?
That's a really good question. Something that I need more of in my own life. My wife is, first and foremost, which I know sounds kind of funny, but she works with me in the business and she knows my goals. She knows me better than anybody. So she really, really helps hold me accountable in a very encouraging way.
Yeah.
I'm someone, I don't respond to negative accountability. You know, I used to have friends that would say, oh, well, how about this? If you don't get this done by this date, you got to shave the beard. And I'm like, that doesn't even like motivate me because I know I'm not shaving the beard. Like that's not happening. So it's, you know, I need that positive accountability is like what works for me. So she's one. And then I will also tell you, my clients do. So, you know, I've got clients that I coach and I have like a group coaching program. And, you know, there's accountability there because when I say, oh, I'm thinking about doing this idea, they get so excited. Now I have to. Like now I have to go and do it, right? And I think that helps as well. We had talked for a long time about doing an event, a conference for my clients, and it turned out that two of them from the UK and one from Belgium were all going to be in the US in my area at the same time.
No way.
And all of a sudden it was like, well, then we should do the event.
Wow.
Like if they're going to be here, like we should get everybody together. And I threw that whole thing together in just
when
like
is it?
2 months. Well, that happened 2 years ago.
Happened,
yeah, we were going to do it. Like we were going to do another one last year, but then COVID wouldn't let us. So we're going to do it again this year as soon as we can, but we don't have dates yet. But that was part of it. It was like figuring out, you know, the clients help hold you accountable. You know, but that's what I try to do is just have some people in my life, have some friends. I think that, you know, going back to what we're talking about, like you're a product of your environment. Your friends don't really have to like verbally hold you accountable. But if you're around a bunch of people who get stuff done and they do what they say they're going to do, then you don't want to be the weak link. And I think there's accountability there that's almost unspoken. I mean, you mentioned it, Christian. You said me showing up at 2 a.m. made you like stricter on your time, more disciplined on your time.
Miles more.
That was me holding you accountable without ever saying, hey, you know, let's be, you know what I mean? Like we didn't even know each other. So I think that's the empower of the environment of, I try to make sure, not just say that I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs, but that I'm surrounded by doers. Who won't allow me to say I'm going to do something and then never do it.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I saw when I was looking into like doing a bit of a check before I saw the tribe thing that you do. I bet that's awesome. I bet you do such a good job with that. I bet you inspire them. I bet you actually can just feel the vibe that you're creating. And yeah,
it's a lot of fun. And we've got members at the moment in 7 different countries, all different income levels. You know, we've got some people that are starting their business and, you know, really getting it off the ground. And then we've got some that have been doing it a long time and making over $200 million a year. You know, it's all different, you know, male, female, different, you know, religions, different backgrounds, different ages. I mean, we've got it all. And so it's really exciting. And it does allow me to not only help people and obviously get paid for it. That's my business, that's my career, but those people become family to me. And that helps also of like when we talked about, you know, criticism and you put yourself out there and maybe you have troll comments. At the end of the day, I know who loves me and who's going to support me. I know that my family has my back. I know that those clients have my back. I know friends that have my back. And I keep leaning on that. So anytime I get that fear of like, oh, is someone going to criticize this? I stop and think, as long as those people I really care about won't criticize it, then I'm good.
Yeah. I read everything in the world. Like Wayne Dyer, I know you know him. He was absolutely awesome, wasn't he, at living in the moment? And I live in the moment most of the time. But I've also, they say that I do all this reading about we shouldn't have the feelings that come with stuff. I get them. And if someone like really criticizes me, my first thing is, it is a bit of, I've sort of let them down. I didn't realize I was letting them down because I didn't know that was the agenda, but I get that initial feeling and then you want to defend yourself. And I suppose as we get better with our mind, we have a shorter period, you know, of like, for instance, now, maybe I get a bit offended. for less time. Some other people get offended for a day, a week, a year. It might terminate a relationship. Mine is down to less than a minute, and sort of before I start going,
Yeah, and I think that's the key for me. I'm not immune to it. It can absolutely affect me. It can hurt my feelings. It can make me sad. And I think that's one of the reasons I try to stay busy so that I don't have time, to dwell on it. And here's the other part, because I want people to know that if they're going to be an entrepreneur or they're going to create anything, art, a message, whatever, and they're worried about the critics, please understand that most of any criticism that you ever get is so irrational that you can't help but laugh about it. And I'll give you an example. Many, many years ago, I was speaking at an event. That was a big part of my business before COVID and all of that. And I can't remember where I was in the world, but I was at this event and I'm speaking. And often when you're done speaking, you come off stage, people want to come up and, tell you that was great or get a photo or a book signed or whatever. So as soon as I'm done, there's this lady who was sitting front row. She races over to get front of the line. And all I can think is, man, that's a super fan. She can't, she was dialed in, she loved it. It was this older lady, and she's a few people back in the line, and I'm, shaking hands and talking to the other people. When she gets up to me, she says, "I loved everything that you had to say." And I'm like, "Thank you." And she goes, "But I can't stand the sound of your voice." Yeah. And I was standing there well, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. Thanks for coming up and letting me know that little piece of feedback that I can't do anything with.
I've just had the same thing happen to me last week. So because I'm starting a YouTube channel, don't know how to make making videos. We're all on Facebook groups. One of them's YouTube people. So you put your stuff in and get some advice. You say, "What's this for? Can you give me some advice?" This guy comes on and he gives me some amazing advice. I'm like, God, he's really building me up. And then he finishes with this. He goes, "Yeah, it's all great. The only thing I couldn't deal with was the monotone of your voice. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that." I was pulling this thing out of fear because I thought that's the one thing that I can't really change. Well, I possibly could. Monotone.
Right. But that's the thing. It's you get that stuff that thankfully you just can't help but laugh at.
Yeah.
And you realize, you know what?
He was a comedian, this guy. Okay. He was a young comedian. So I looked on his channel and I went on his channel and he was like, "Oh, okay." He just did this. He had this voice going on. And I was thinking he must have a thing about voices because he's analyzing his own. I never really think about mine until someone tells you it's monotone.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing is I could have been real sensitive to that because I went through years of speech therapy for a lisp that I still have. Plus, being an American from the South, my accent thankfully doesn't sound like most people around here. I don't have the real country accent that a lot do, but I sound different. And
so you do sound different, do you? I don't know. I just know you as you, and I'm not in Tennessee.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I live in Tennessee, which is the southern part of the United States. This is where most people have a little twang or country sound to their accent. That more southern drawl, as they call it. I don't know why. My parents do big time. They need subtitles when they're talking. You wouldn't understand them at all. So I don't. And I don't realize that my wife does until she and I are outside of the state and other people are listening to her and they're like, "I'll say that again. You sound country." And she's like, "What?"
What? Your wife sounds awesome. She just sounds cool.
She's absolutely amazing. And I will tell you that what's been so great about her, of course, we met when we were young, and it was very much us against the world. I was going through a very, very dark time with depression and really feeling lost. And she saved my life, literally saved my life. And, for her, she grew up in a really chaotic upbringing where, single mom who was trying to do the best she could to raise Brooke, and they were moving a lot. And then her dad was not a great father. And so there was those issues. And I mean, she was kidnapped at one point and all of this stuff. but she's like you, Christian. She's a beam of light. She's so positive and so happy.
Kidnapped. Oh my God.
Yeah. And what's great about her is that, you know, and I just believe this is what makes marriage work, is that yes, we're great friends, we're best friends and all of that, but it's that never ending support of like, we're on the same team. You know, if she wins, I win. If I win, she wins. You know, how can we both win? And then the cool thing is we have different skill sets. So the way she helps me in the business is far different than what I could do, because, you know, for me, I don't have an eye for design or cosmetic appearance or those things. So I would just put out garbage. It would just look horrible. And she's like mortified of like, you were not putting that out there. Like, that has to look better. But the flip side is she would never do this because she's an introvert. Okay. She's like, nope, I'm not doing that. Not speaking, not stage, not, you know, whatever, like, none of that. And so it ends up being this cool thing because the skill sets complement each other. And she's able to not only be my biggest supporter, but then actually help in the business. And she's helped since day one, even my real estate company, other companies that I've done. I mean, we've always just worked from home together. So that's the other thing, is it's kind of all we know, which is really funny because when COVID happened and the lockdowns.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah, like, you know, she homeschools our kids. We work from home. I was like, we've been quarantined for 20 years. Didn't even realize it. Like it was no different for us, which actually was really cool because we were kind of set up for success, you know, during a time that was very you know, stressful and trying for a lot of people.
We're still locked down now. You're not anymore. We right now we're not. Which just come out in the news yesterday, which I didn't watch. If you want the news, you hear it off everyone else. Yeah. So I know that. We've got about 6 weeks left to go. Then we're back. We're back in the real world as the summer comes.
6 weeks. Wow.
I know.
No, we've not been locked down since like early last year. You know, everything pretty much is open. We're supposed to wear masks places, so we still have that and still do some social distancing and those things. But otherwise, no, we're back in business.
Yeah, well, we'll be back in business in 6 weeks, and we're done. We're done. You know, and I'm a positive guy. But I'm being tested. So if I'm being tested, do you know when I go out, like I went for lunch, there's like a general, I'm seeing things in people. Like if I think that I'm being tested and if I had to say my greatest strength, it is my positivity because it's a learned skill of how to do it. I'm seeing some blank faces out there. And when I'm out, I feel like I need to talk to as many as I can to try and get, you know, it's all going to be great. You know, sell the story 6 weeks. Like, oh, maybe not. Maybe then they'll do it again.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why I love what you're doing, because there's not been a better time where the world needs help navigating situations like this. And one thing that's been really fascinating about this year with shutdowns and the disease or you know, virus and you know, people getting sick and a lot of people dying and just the uncertainty of all of it. And then in the US, it became so political. And then there was, you know, that division and everything going on. One of the things that I want everyone to remember is that there's a degree now of uncertainty that the rest of us are going to carry with us for life. Because now what seemed like would never happen could be an option again, which means, you know, 30 years from now, there could be another virus. 30 years from now, that, you know, we could lock down. You know, if you would ask me 5 years ago, if the world would have ever shut down, I would have been like, no way. But now I know it's an option, because if they do it to us once, they'll do it to us again.
I know, right? But I think in this, that will be better then. You know, like that's so. If someone says that, I'll say, yeah, you can't rule that out, but we'll be better. We'll be more equipped to deal with it quicker.
Absolutely,
we've all got now conditioned about to do it. Like if you just said, people getting used to it. I'm not a home person. I mean, I am a home person, but I'm a people person. All of a sudden, all the people have gone. Where's the energy coming from? That's why I couldn't wait to do this interview. I'm filming on my own with no energy.
You're exactly right, man. You're exactly well, and that's the thing, because you know, with coaching, I do stuff like this all day long, which is great. But even then, I still miss the in-person, the physical. Like, no, let's actually go. You know, have a cup of coffee, go hang out, whatever. But that's the thing, is like with all of that uncertainty, what it comes back to is the thing that you're all about, which is that attitude. that no matter what may happen in the future, you may be uncertain about it. You may have anxiety about it. But if you protect your attitude, then whatever happens, you're going to be able to roll with it and you're going to be able to navigate it. Because as I said before, studies have showed the attitude is the number one factor on whether or not you overcome a challenge or how you handle and respond to it. And I think that's, I don't know, it's attitude and confidence are two things that I feel like are way too scarce in this world. I think we have too many people who have bad negative attitudes and too many people who have low self-esteem. And the results then are people who are not fulfilling their potential. And so they're not helping and they're not healing others because they're just too down on themselves.
Well, I would conclude that to say too many people are addicted to negative behavior and negative actions. They become addicted to, like, I feel like I'm addicted. I just look for the positive. Like if something negative's going on, I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to leave that behind. Something good's going on, I stay there, give it my energy and feel it. Some people don't want that. And that's why I stopped reading the news, because it's just negative energy, because he'll only put bad stuff happening on the news. And after a bit, I've not missed it. I don't miss it at all, not in the slightest.
Well, you're exactly right. I'm the same way. I don't pay attention to the news or those things because I know, as you said, like, you know, if something really is going to go down and happen, friends are going to let me know. I remember one time telling, I think it was my mom, I was like, oh, I don't watch the news. Don't read the news. Don't listen to any of it. And she was like, how are you going to know what's going on? I was like, you know what? Text me if it's World War III. You know, like,
well, you'll tell me.
Yeah. Otherwise, don't worry about it. You know, when I look out the window and there's like an army out there, then okay, you know what? I'll figure out what's going on. But until then, I don't need to know, because, like you said, inevitably you're going to find out.
Well, in new news, I don't know if this is like, I talk about stereotypes because we've got lots of British stereotypes. Because of the weather is ever changing. The weather's often the first thing that people speak about in Britain. How's it going? Oh, the weather's, it looks like it's getting better. Oh, it's raining. You know, something around it. It's not now. It's now COVID related. So the weather's gone second and it's now going, have you heard we're possibly getting out of lockdown? Yeah, I can't wait. And then the next one will be, I love walking, but that's all we do. What are you doing today? Well, I've been on my walk. That's what everyone in Britain says right now. So that's great because of exercising, being outside, doing stuff. There's loads of positives that have learned from this. We've got to do that. And that leads me to my next question, which I think you can help me with. What would you advise be for anyone listening who needs to make some changes in their life?
You know, I think this goes back to the thing that you and I had talked about. And I know this had resonated with you a lot, but understanding the story we're telling ourselves. And you made a great video about this, but every single area in our life, we're telling ourselves some kind of story about that. Good or bad or whatever, but like we are telling ourselves a story about it. So the awareness of that, and the only way to become aware of it that I know is to truly sit down with a pen and paper and start getting clear on your thoughts. You know, like if it's money you're wanting to change, then write down money at the top and then write down every thought you have, good, bad, ugly, fears, whatever, like write it all down just to get it out, because you have to start telling yourself a different story if you want significant change. Otherwise, your mind is going to actually work against you. So, you know, we can say, oh, I want to start this new business. But if the story you're telling yourself is it's not going to work, I don't know that it's going to, happen quickly. Or do I deserve that success? What will other people think? Like all that story stuff, all that BS that you're telling yourself, it's going to sabotage your efforts and your action. So when you can get clear on what that story is, to then purposefully and physically rewrite a new story, now you can actually start to live out a different story. And I know it's hard because some people say, well, I can't, I'm broke, so I can't just write a story that says I am rich. But you can write a story that says I am becoming rich. Yes, I am becoming wealthy. I am becoming, financially free. You can write that story that, that transition may not have happened yet, but you are in transition, and tell that story, I'm not where I want to be, but I am getting better every day. Like it's funny because we deal with absolutes. People think, well, here's where I am and here's where I want to be. And that's so far in between. How do I get from, where I am to where I want to be? And it's like, you don't jump there immediately, right? There's a journey. So in that journey, write yourself a healthier story. Again, this can be about marriage. It can be about your faith, your children, your physical health, your financial health, your business, whatever it may be. But start with rewriting that narrative because that's actually one of the bigger things that's holding people back.
Yeah.
And most people are completely unaware of it.
That was this. I've already, when I did the video, I already acknowledged that you gave me the idea, but that was probably, and you saw that I'd been scared to show everyone my videos, even though the people had seen them. But that video, out of them all, Rewrite Your Life Story, felt so much of a thing to me. I wanted to share it, and it was the very first thing I shared. And since then, now I'll share my videos. I don't care. And it was like you gave me that, and you gave me like a belief. I have belief in myself. I'm a confident person. I have belief, but then also sometimes you got to up your belief. Yeah, and I've been upping my belief. And it's an interesting journey. And there's a line between confidence and arrogance, and definitely in my life, I've been too near the arrogance a long time ago, and I'm now wanting to be more near confidence. And it is a hard line to follow, but it's a pursuit that I'm trying to rewrite the story of. And I'd hope that maybe I'm in my 40s now, my 30s, I was getting better and whatnot, making my way towards it. But yeah, that was an awesome. It really, it does. I'm gonna finish on that because I'm gonna finish on one last question because I nicked this one off you. Actually, this question was off your social media. When I was writing questions and I'm checking social media, I came across this question. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I hate how much you've done your homework.
I read this thing about you've got to do your homework, and that's one of the things I don't do enough,
I love it. So I'll just go with the first ones that sort of crossed my mind. Anthony Bourdain. Was a great fan of him. He had a TV show and wrote a lot of books. Really great guy. He was a chef and brilliant storyteller. So I would definitely.
What was the TV show?
It was a TV show called Parts Unknown.
Okay, not heard of it.
Yeah, I can't believe you've not heard of him. Look, you would love him. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was great. So Anthony Bourdain would be one of them, and then the actor Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, I love him, and I often feel like he and I could talk for days. Like you and I just feel like it could be never-ending conversation.
He's motivational. I tried to do a motivational video. I'd listened to his, and I tried one. He has a way. Is he from near where you are? Is this a Southern American?
So he's from Texas. Yeah, which is not. I mean, that's a couple hours away.
No, but he has that. Yeah. Phenomenal.
But so he's further south than me.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing is like from where I am from, I should sound like him, but see, I don't. So anyway, Matthew McConaughey would be one. And then who would be the other one? I would probably say, you know what? This is going to sound completely cheesy. I would pick you because we got to hang out in person. And, I either need to go over there or you need to come over here. And that would be a wild.
Well, I want to see. I'd like to see Tennessee, just because I've always wanted to. I've been to America. I've been to as 14-year-old. Did Florida and went to Disney World and stayed around there. I really wanted to see the back parts. I want to go if you come to the UK, everyone goes London, Manchester, cities. I don't want to see the cities. I want to drive and see all the little towns that I see in films and see what it's really like. And it's been an ambition of mine to get a car, drive through it. Possibly my son was going to do it for his 21st and COVID ruined it. And just drive through it all and see the other bits where people like used to seeing you go in and they're not met a British person before,
right? Oh, absolutely. No, I had a friend of mine many years ago from Brighton, and he came over and spent a month here just sort of driving around. And everyone, he was getting free food and everyone was nuts. They could not get over the accent. They were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But it is one thing that's unique about the United States and specifically Tennessee and the East Coast. The landscape becomes dramatically different. I'm a few hours away from Florida, but it looks completely different here than it does in Florida.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing. The homes look different. The trees are different. The mountains are like everything is kind of different. So that's the nice thing about exploring and seeing all of that.
what's mad is my next guy I'm interviewing. Well, it's less of an interview, more of a we're going to do a live and ask you some questions. He's another American. So when I started my YouTube channel, Motivator for You, I think that's what it's called. It's really bad if I don't remember it. A guy doing it, he started at the same time as me. I started watching all his videos. He watches mine, and we commented, and now we're gonna. It's just this thing, and I think awesome, isn't it? Just awesome how things connect, and if you allow them to do it, they'll happen. If you don't do anything and you don't make anything happen, you'll never go anywhere. And it doesn't have to be success like monetary, job, and whatnot. You can do it like. Let me just take. Do you know what my biggest success is this week? And I've just before this, I got the phone call. Last week, I've got this guy who I do a sport. I don't want to say too much, but I do something with this guy, play sport with him. And since I've met him, I've so much liked him as a person, yeah. And he's single, right? And I used to think, why is he single? I think he's single because he's too nice a guy. He's tall, good looking, he's got a good job. And I've started thinking there's quite a few single people that I know. And I feel like I'm lucky and blessed that I've got my partner. I feel like she's my best friend. I feel so blessed and it makes my life happier. And I thought, and I think there's so many people out there. So Julie had a friend, and I said, what about your friend? And get it thinking, I set them up on a date. They went on a dog walk. We're now on I rang you up before. We're on number 3.
Wow, look at you, matchmaker.
They didn't even know each other. They have no new, and I connected them 2 people together, and they may become a couple. That is exciting.
That is very exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting.
Very cool.
Right, I'm gonna thank you for an amazing thing. I think I couldn't have asked for you to be any cooler, any funnier, any better, any more inciting. You've really, I came into this nervous and thing, and I reckon I've been sweating a lot. I've really enjoyed it.
Dude, this was a blast. I'm honored to be here and be part of it and help you. And anytime, we definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll see you Thursday for our next encounter.
That's right.
And what you were saying, I'm willing to get up an hour earlier for you. Would you not go to bed? Is that you were saying you'd stay up? Do you know what I asked you?
Yeah. So right now, because it's like right in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So if
I'm willing to do it. You know what I'm like with time. I'm willing to get up an hour early. Do you want me to suggest it on Thursday?
Sure, whatever. Because I mean, it obviously I can make it work the way it is. But
I know, but would it work better the other way? I thought about it because I want you in the group. Like when they talked about some changes, I want you in it.
Yeah.
If you're not in it, I don't want to be in it. That's where I'm at. So I'll suggest it. But thanks, John. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Cheers, buddy.